Hi everyone, my name is Maria Bermudez and I'm the Managing Attorney at Disability Advocacy Group. I'm making this video today to talk to you about the concept of SSI benefit income and resources. In other words, their financial eligibility in order to get SSI benefits. So what are SSI benefits? SSI benefits, Supplemental Security Income. The way we see it come into our firm is through disability benefits, right? You can also get SSI old age benefits. But for our purposes, we're talking about disability benefits. So people are generally eligible for disability benefits under two main areas. So SSDI, the people that come to us anyway, there are other benefits that can be received, for example, survivor benefits, adult child benefits. Those are other benefits that people inquire about as well. But for our purposes, most of our clients or prospective clients are coming to us for two different main kinds of benefits. That's SSDI, which is a worker's benefit. You pay into the system, you develop work credits, and if you become disabled, you can get a disability benefit based on your work history. And then there's SSI benefits, where you can get disability benefits, supplemental security income benefits, if you have low income, low assets, no assets. So it is a resource-based program. So in other words, when it comes to income, the people who are eligible for this benefit, and this goes to parents and children, right? Because children can get SSI benefits. If they're disabled and their parents are low income, low asset, they can apply for benefits as well. And what Social Security will be doing is looking at the parents' income and assets. So when it comes to income, Social Security is going to look at how much you're making, and depending on the amount, they do discount the income amount when they're kind of doing the offset. But depending on how much you're making, you could either have a lower benefit amount or no benefit at all, right? Things that aren't considered income for SSI purposes are things like SNAP benefits. So your food stamps, that wouldn't be considered income for SSI purposes. Tax returns are not considered income for SSI purposes. Tax refunds. But another thing that is considered income and that affects the benefit amount, and this affects directly my clients sometimes, is free room and board. So if you're living with somebody and they're covering your room and board and you're an adult, then the amount that they're covering, an aspect of that can reduce your benefit amount. So if you're eligible for, say, $800, you may only be eligible for $500 if somebody's offering you room and board for free. So those are things to keep in mind when it comes to the income requirements of Social Security. The amount for SSI changes every year, and the income and asset requirements typically stay the same, but it's always good to brush up on the exact eligibility requirements. So that's something that you'll want to have a conversation with somebody at Social Security. You can go to ssa.gov, they have a ton of resources, and we're at disabilityadvocacygroup.com. We provide resources as well. So now let's look at the resources limitation, basically. So the current limitation when it comes to resources is $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a couple. So what does that mean? That means if you have $2,001 in the bank, then that means you probably are not going to be eligible for disability benefits. Now, this is highly technical, not for SSI benefits. This is highly technical. So it may be that if you have a receipt for it and it's an eligible expense, or you still might be able to get SSI benefits, but overall, the general rule is if you have more than $2,000 as an individual in assets, you're not going to be eligible for SSI benefits. So what are some exceptions to this? So this before we get to exceptions, this includes houses, cars, it includes cash money, it includes stocks, bonds. If you have a cash value in a life insurance policy, it's going to include that too. So what it doesn't include is, I said house and cars, it does include, but if you have more than one, so right, they know that you have to have shelter. So your primary house, where you live, that's not going to be counted. Your primary car that you use to get to your doctor's appointments, that's not going to be counted. However, if you have 2 cars, that might deem you ineligible depending on the value of that second car. So sometimes I get people who are like, oh, I have a car for my kid and it's in my name. It's in your name. So that could be counted against you if it's over $2,000. The other thing is houses. So again, you can have the house that you live in, and that's not going to be a problem in terms of eligibility. But if you have a second home, or if you don't live in the home that you own, then that's going to be a problem. So for example, I do have people sometimes that I have say a person that lives in Philadelphia and they have a house in Puerto Rico, and say they might live with family or have an apartment in Philadelphia and they own the home in Puerto Rico but they can't live there for whatever reason, that house is going to deem them ineligible because they own that home and they don't live in it. So those are the basic requirements, or limitations rather, when it comes to SSI eligibility. There's income limitations, there's asset limitations, or resources it's also called. So those are things to keep in mind. There's a ton of information on Social Security's website, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're at disabilityadvocacygroup.com. Thank you.